Up with Jordan and Ron.
Welcome to Hooking Up with Jordan and Ron. I'm Jordan.
I'm Ron.
And today we have Craig here. Craig, you mentioned wanting to say your whole name. What is your last name?
VanKempen.
VanKempen. Okay.
Yeah, and he's a psychotherapist who incidentally sort of has a specialty working with folks on relationships.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's like cool, right?
Sure. Including couples therapy?
I did used to do couples therapy, and then I stopped because I actually had a child, and couples therapy is pretty challenging, and I wanted to spend my challenge points on the child
Yeah, that makes
versus
sense.
the couple. But I still
Wow.
talk to people about their relationships, even in individual therapy.
Okay.
That's great. Yeah,
That's impressive. That's
yeah.
hard work to do.
Yeah, it comes up all the time, even like in brain injury treatment, which I do. It's like you're constantly talking about family and
Oh, yeah.
partners.
Mm-hmm.
And if they're helpful or not, or what you want them to do, and what you don't want them to do. And, yeah, that's a big part. So tell us a little bit about yourself. What's your background? What brought you to psychotherapy?
Well, I had a long and winding journey into psychotherapy. I did my undergraduate at the University of Michigan here in theater and German, so not
Whoa.
exactly
Oh, interesting.
a psychotherapy.
Interesting comp?
Yes, it was also an interesting combo. And then I did some work abroad in Germany, and then I was a camp director for 4 years.
Oh, cool.
And then came back to U of M to do my master's in social work and master's in public health, trying to get people to change their health behaviors. And I really started doing therapy with folks living with HIV in the Detroit area, and really just fell in love with it. It's such a beautiful chance to talk to people, encourage people, be in relationship with people even. And, you mentioned in one of your earlier podcasts the idea of paid friends, and I think it's really interesting. It's one of those relationships that's so supportive, but also, a business transaction as well.
Right.
Absolutely.
Very much so. We actually have our clients sometimes do this exercise where we have them draw the circles of who's in your inner circle,
Yep.
who are the people that are in your outer circle, then who's your paid circle,
Yes. Yeah.
who do you like to have in your circle, which is a great exercise to take a look at. Now, we had a previous guest, Colby, who talked about what it's like to have kids and then maintain friendships or make new friendships. And I understand that you actually met Colby, that you work with her in an organization called MOASH.
Yeah, that's correct. We're both on the board. In fact, we're the co-presidents of MOASH, the Michigan Organization for Adolescent Sexual Health. And that's actually been a really nice place to meet friends.
Oh, cool.
I started out there in 2015. I was just like, well, this sounds interesting. I've got an interest in adolescent sexual health. I was at an adolescent healthcare clinic as a clinical social worker and health educator for many years. And it was part of my job duties there. And I've just kept doing it. And it's been a really great place to meet and become friends with people from around the state. And if anyone's interested in joining the board, reach out to me as well.
That's exciting. Yeah, at the end of the episode, we're actually going to give you Craig's email so you can contact him if you'd like to for psychotherapy or to get involved with MOASH or maybe some other things we talk about.
Yeah. So almost 10 years now on the board.
Yeah,
That's
almost
a long
10 years
time.
on the board. Yeah.
Wow, that's really impactful work. My sister Colby has told me a bunch about some of the programs, but it's just amazing that we're lucky enough to be in a community where that exists,
Right.
that knowledge base and system. Because that's just something that would be lacking in so many other communities.
Florida.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Right, where it would be like illegal.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting. I didn't think about that part.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons I moved back from Florida.
Yeah.
Because the life is kind of crazy there.
Right.
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 Yeah.
Well, I actually lived in Germany for a bit myself in college.
Okay.
So I spreche ein bisschen Deutsch, not very much. So I don't know
nice.
if you're fluent or.
I can still read some stuff.
Cool.
I get stuff from my German friends, and I can read it if they if they write all in German.
Okay.
They prefer me not write back in German because I can't produce it as well as I can read it. But
Well, I took German in high school.
Oh, my
In fact,
goodness.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
And I'm very involved in theater. And,
Yeah.
I remember we went to John Carroll University, actually, and had them put on a production of Jedermann in German, actually. And I thought, oh, my gosh, like nobody really understood what was going on,
Oh
even
my
though we
gosh.
had read the book.
Is that a
in
Wagner
class.
play?
I forget who wrote it.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff is like, devils and spirits that come
totally.
to
Oh,
life.
yeah.
and, Yeah. So what brought you to doing psychotherapy with relationships?
I found that that's what a lot of my clients and patients wanted to talk about. I use those two words interchangeably,
Okay,
Yeah.
sure.
but that's what they really wanted to talk about. Even if they were living with HIV, what they wanted to talk about
Yeah.
was, the friends they had in their lives that they, gained through, the recovery programs they were in, or, we had a support group for people who were previously incarcerated. So
Wow.
just all about relationships and
Of
just
course,
like
yeah.
families
Mhm.
who were supportive, or maybe they disowned them,
Oh, wow.
for different reasons.
Sure.
But I mean, that's what people really wanted to talk about. And finding those friends and relationships, I really feel like it is a really key to good mental health. So I'm
Yep.
really glad you all are doing this, because it is hard after a certain age. I mean, that's
It
what a
is.
lot of people talk to me about.
Mhm.
They come in and they're like, Craig, how do I make friends as an adult?
Mhm.
Right, exactly. That's what brought us to this.
Yeah. And I'm like, that's what we all need to figure out.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And so what do you tell them?
I tell them, some of the ways that I've made friendships in my life through getting involved. You're not going to, well, it's changed a little bit with online communities too. And I have a lot of thoughts about that as well.
Yep.
I do meet with a fair amount of adolescents, and I've really come to the conclusion that online communities are great, but you really need an in-person
Sure.
dynamic.
It's
Right.
not quite as fulfilling.
Yes, exactly. And I even had an adolescent I work with came to me recently and was like, Craig, I need in-person friends. Like,
Yes,
Right.
good.
she had been very much involved online,
Mhm.
has some beautiful friendships, a girlfriend online, and she was just like, I need in-person friends. And I'm like, yeah, there's
Yep.
something there. I think a robust online community is great, but I think there's something that comes with just being face to face with someone,
Mhm.
and just spending time in their presence.
Mhm.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you had mentioned before we started that you had listened to some of our podcasts.
Yeah.
And,
Thanks for doing that.
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of what we try to bring on are guests who participate in different things that,
Mhm.
that maybe others can get involved with, whether
Mhm.
it's gaming or whether it's trivia or these other types of activities. Um,
And not everyone has a therapist, but they should. Every person in
Yes.
society should have a therapist.
Thank you, Jordan.
That's
Yes.
my soapbox moment.
Me
Thank you. I would agree with that too.
I am biased, and I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I would
And it should
absolutely
be a
agree.
lot more accessible and less expensive. No offense,
No,
but
none
you know,
taken.
it is. That's
Yeah.
all insurance, but we won't talk about that soapbox. Insurance soapbox is a little too intense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's I've been dealing with insurance all day
Ugh,
today at work.
I
It's
imagine.
just,
Yeah.
it's horrible.
Yeah.
So if I imagine that a typical client might come to you and say,
Mhm.
I've been feeling down, I'm blue or depressed. I haven't really been able to meet anybody.
Yeah.
I'm 45. I've never gotten into a relationship with anybody.
Right.
What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I typically talk to them about, what their life has been like. What's their
Mhm.
daily routine look like? What are
Mhm.
you involved in? What
Mhm.
activities do you either do or want to do? Because depression often takes away that joy
Yep.
Yeah.
of the things that you used to love to do. And I'm like, what do you remember,
Mhm.
really loving to do at some point? And I encourage them to get back involved and really push themselves. One of the things I like to say is, if they're like, I'm afraid, I'm like, well, can you feel the fear and do it anyway?
Oh, sure.
That
Oh,
feels
that's
really
a
interesting
great
approach.
sentence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And have you seen noticeable progress with some of those folks?
Yeah. If people really, address their fears and some of that really negative, critical self-talk that I feel like we all have, and
Absolutely.
it's louder for some folks than for others. Just being able to just allow that to be a little more quiet and get
Mhm.
out there. I mean, depression does make you want to isolate and keeps
Mhm.
you away from your friends. And I just encourage people to try to get out there and try
Mhm.
to do things, do something,
Right.
anything
Even
that,
just like taking a walk or
yeah,
something
exactly.
to exit your
My gold
dark
standard:
space.
outside, social, active. Like
Cool.
any one of those three is great. If you can get all three, that's wonderful.
Mhm.
Meetups. One of the things I often say too is, I read somewhere that I tried to find the source for this, I couldn't find it, but friendships are formed through two things: large amount of unstructured time and shared vulnerability.
Wow.
So I really try to encourage people, like, you got to put yourself out there. You got to be vulnerable. I know it's hard. It feels hard, but that's what creates intimacy. That's
Sure.
what creates friendship. I'm talking about just sex, although that works too. But like
Yeah.
intimacy through friendships by being vulnerable. And this is why you hear about all these, tight friendships formed in these theater friends and camp friends and, these intense experiences where you need to be vulnerable and you have a large amount of unstructured time. So,
Right. We've talked about that previously in our podcast too, like especially theater, since I'm so involved, and how people come together for a show and suddenly you're living with each other every
And
single
you
day
have to make it work.
for,
That was
6
one thing.
weeks,
Yeah.
2 months.
yeah,
But then there's also the downside, which is suddenly it's over after 2 months.
Right.
Yeah.
right.
And hopefully you've made some friends that you can continue, socializing with.
Yeah.
How did you handle that question during the pandemic?
That was tough, Ron. That was really tough. I would say, like whatever you can do to get out there, outside, let's have some socially distanced meetups. Let's have some online things. My theater friends, so I met my partner doing community theater too,
Cool.
which was really great. And a lot of our friend group are from that same theater. So we had a Friday night Zoom call every Friday.
Yeah. I remember doing that with some friends.
That's still on the calendar.
Cool.
Oh, that's
like-
great.
Well, we don't do it, but
Okay.
it's still on the calendar because
Okay.
we're all in shows now.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Okay.
So you
So
can't
you're
do it
super
anymore.
busy with that. Yeah.
Yeah. But it was such a life-giving. I would say it was a lifesaver for a lot of us, just being able to jump on and see these people we really care about, and we'd play online trivia games or just fun
Cool.
group games that you could do there. But that's what I told people. I was like, can you connect with people in any way possible during the pandemic? Because it was really hard. People who were single during the pandemic would say like, I miss touching people.
Yep.
Right.
Just like a casual handshake or hug.
Right.
They were just like, I miss touching people. And I'm like, okay, do you have a pet? Do you have a blanket? Like, let's, can you go on the apps and do a date
Those are
and get
great
someone in your
ideas.
pod?
I didn't think about that
Oh,
in terms of
yeah.
what couldn't you if you truly are alone all the time on your own. Yeah, having a pet helps. Having
I think a
just
lot of people adopted
textural
pets
elements.
during
Yeah.
that time.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Again, I adopted my dog Bruno at that time, and my other dog had passed away like 6 months before the pandemic. And we didn't even go to like the kennel. We met at a public park to meet the dog,
Yeah.
and they brought it out to me at the public park where we could play in
Wow.
the park for a little while and see if this would work out. It did, but now he's a monster at home. But
Monster.
no, he's not.
Bruno.
He's great. But yeah, so that was me too.
Sure,
I adopted
Of
a pet
course.
during that time too.
Yeah.
I know that we switched all of our therapy, which is all group oriented here,
Okay.
to Zoom during that time, and it's just not the same.
No.
But at least they were able to keep in touch and still do therapy and have their groups and kind of adapted kind of stuff. I'm not sure that semester went as well as most of our semesters go, but yeah, I think a lot of those folks are very isolated. What kind of advice do you have for? Let's maybe look at the other extreme of that. Someone who is very extroverted and keeps going out and meeting
Interesting.
people and not really hooking up with anybody, not
Mm-mm.
finding that special person to be
Okay.
with. Because I'm sure that becomes a question too. I have all these friends, but no intimate friends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
No, I've seen that before too. And one of the things that my therapist taught me, when I was that person about, 10 years ago was like, well, what are you really looking for here? What are your values? And the exercise that she gave me that I continue to give to clients was, can you write down 10 things that you're looking for in a partner and
Okay.
really think about like, these people that you're dating, that you're hanging out with, like, are they meeting those 10 things? And then the other thing she said too was like, write down 10 things that you bring to a relationship.
Sure.
What do you have to give? And
It
that
goes
helps you
both
write your dating
ways.
profiles too.
Yep.
One exercise I have people do, I just listened to your episode on dating apps.
Yeah. We're going to do a part 2.
We need to
Oh,
follow
yes.
up. Yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. But I have them fill out a dating profile, even if they're not going to post it. I'm like, just answer
That's
their
a
questions.
great idea.
Because so many of those
Do you do Hinge? That's a good
whatever one
Whatever one
they want to
yeah.
connect with. I just want them to answer those questions
Yeah.
about themselves, because I feel like those really, at the very least allows them to examine a little bit about who you are and what do you want, because that's what you need to get on those apps, I imagine.
Do you hear that, listeners? You have a homework assignment.
There you go.
all need to write
10
a dating
things.
profile, even if you don't post it. That's
I
such a
love
great
homework
idea.
assignment. Yes,
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah, I also give lots of homework assignments. That's our first assignment to you folks, and
Oh,
you can
wow.
write in and let us
Sure.
know at HookingUpWithJordanAndRon.
I did think briefly for like when I was in Chicago of starting consulting on creating profiles because so many men, well, so many straight men, or at least the men presented to me as straight
Sure.
on or heterosexual on the apps, have no content, like have nothing. And they're just like, what do you expect someone, or they'll say things like, just ask. Like,
Right.
no, actually, you need to tell me something. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not
Mhm.
going to just.
And a picture of themselves holding a fish.
Yeah. Or so, that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
I can be a
Fish,
provider,
fishes,
right?
Oh,
yeah.
that's what that
Or
says.
all good
I don't
photos
know.
and you
I think
can't
that's
figure
just-
out who the
yeah.
person
Oh,
is.
no.
Yeah.
I think it's the guys just don't take selfies.
Yeah.
Right.
So they have whatever photo like somebody took of
Yeah.
theirs while they were fishing the other day,
Maybe we should give them a break a little bit.
Yeah, we'll give them a little bit of a break, but still.
Maybe.
If you got a fishing picture on your profile, think about that.
Yeah.
So then are most of your clients, you said there's a fair amount of adolescents. Are they men, women?
I see
non-binary,
everyone. Yeah.
And everyone, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, two of my big populations are folks who are transitioning genders, so
Okay.
transgender folks,
Mm-hmm.
and polyamorous folks. So,
Okay.
people who are in open relationships.
Mhm.
Right.
And, that's a whole other
Yeah.
how do I meet people, how do I date people
Sure.
question as
That's a-
well when you're already in a couple
Yeah.
or triad and you want to start dating more
Mhm.
people.
Is the upside down pineapple thing true?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. Mhm.
Oh, okay.
That's
Yeah.
hilarious.
So, yeah, we talked about that here
Yeah.
on one of our episodes as well. It's like, really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
And is the correct term, we also got caught up on the term swingers.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
is
mean,
the
that
correct
seems like
term
a really,
now
like, slang
polyamorous?
version
Yeah.
of
Well, I let people tell me how they identify. So
Okay.
some people
Yeah.
are swingers. To me, that means you have an exclusive, or not exclusive, but like a emotionally connected sexual and emotional relationship, but you have sex outside of that.
Okay.
And then polyamorous can mean I want to love a bunch of different people.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people just use open now.
Sure.
We're open. We're in an open relationship, an open marriage. So there's a lot of terms out there.
Right.
Yeah.
So I just ask people how they identify.
Okay.
Yeah, you see that one a lot on like dating profiles. You see the open relationship.
There's
Oh,
quite
sure.
a bit of it
Yeah.
on the apps.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Which on the apps, I'm not sure how open they actually are,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I assume many of them are.
And that's one of the things you want to watch out for when you're on the dating apps. It's like, how open do you want an open relationship? That's one of the 10 things that you're writing about is how open do you want your
Right.
relationship to be?
Right. They might be open, but am I
Right,
willing to have an
exactly.
open relationship?
Yeah.
Probably
Exactly.
not.
Yeah.
I mean, for me
No,
personally.
for me either. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's tough. I don't know. I wanted, like, when I first got divorced, I got divorced about 8 years ago.
Mm.
I thought for a while, I was like, am I gay? Am I this? I mean, I've never been interested in women, but you know what I mean? You sort of go through these
Sure.
iterations of like, what's going on now? I have this freedom. I'm not poly. I'm not, E&M was sort of a thing back then when I was dating, but
Right.
like ethically non-monogamous.
Still is. Yeah.
Yeah, but I also got to a point where I was like, I don't really feel like really being super transparent with these men. Like, and be
Okay.
like, yeah, like I had sex with one other person this week. It's like, that's not, obviously the conversation might be a little bit
Right.
different, but you know what I mean? It just
Yeah.
seemed so much information.
Right.
I don't know, but I'm glad things exist for people that want something different. That's the most important element.
Yeah, and I think that it's fantastic that you have a practice that actually
Absolutely.
pretty much specializes
Yes.
in that.
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
If people want to see you, how should they get a hold of you?
So you can reach out in the email, Craig at hurtempoweredwellness.com. It's
Mhm.
going to be in the little blurb as well.
Great.
You can find me on Psychology Today.
That's a great website, actually.
It
You
is.
can
Yeah.
search for your therapist by your insurance
Mhm.
company, all that. Highly recommend.
I do virtual appointments and see folks in Royal Oak and Ypsilanti.
Cool.
Are where my 2 offices are.
Okay.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
What show are you in?
Yeah.
I'm not in any shows right now.
But all your friends are.
I just got done over the summer being Captain Von Trapp, a dream role.
Oh, I was wondering because he's got
in
these
The Sound of
stickers on his
Music.
Stanley
Oh,
mug. This
there
is
you go.
hilarious. Captain Von Thirst Trap.
Ah,
I
that's
know,
funny.
right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yep.
I happen to love that show. I directed
Christopher
that
Plummer.
a long time ago.
Right.
Yeah.
So no shows right now. My partner and I switch off who does the show and who does the
Mhm.
childcare. So
how old is said child?
said child is about to be 3 in February.
Wow.
Really toddlery, but
Yeah.
it's going to be great. And but yeah, I think my partner's going to audition for a show coming up here, a straight play, 5 women wearing the same dress.
Oh,
is what it's called.
interesting.
Yeah,
Oh, that's cool.
it's about bridesmaids.
Yeah.
Little
Oh,
behind the scenes at a wedding.
fun.
Oh,
Where's
it's so
it going
fun.
to be?
It's going to be at St. Dunstan's Theater Guild of Cranbrook out in Bloomfield Hills, which is
Cool.
our home theater.
Okay.
And we're about 10 minutes from there. That may have prompted the move from Ypsilanti to Beverly Hills.
More opportunities.
Yeah, exactly.
Mhm.
Yeah, I do a lot of stuff here in Ann Arbor, obviously,
Mhm.
but also down in Adrian at Croswell.
Yeah,
Opera House.
that's
yeah.
a beautiful place.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Well, we have been so thrilled to be able to talk to you, and there's so much to talk about. So maybe you'll be a future guest
Yeah.
again.
Well, I'd
yeah.
love to come back. Thank
Yeah.
you both so much.
Thank you.
For everything
Yeah.
you do.
Yeah, and that's Craig at herdempoweredwellness.com that we will post that. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us drop us a line at HookingUpWithJordanAndRon at gmail.com. We have a long email too, you know?
I know, it is a really long one.
All
But
the short ones are taken now.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Well, we have a short code, but we don't use it because then no one knows really what that is.
Right.
You know, so like, might as well stick with this
It's
one.
a weird
for now.
acronym. It's like HRJ. It's not. It's not. We
Yeah,
shouldn't do it.
yeah. Hoojar. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we will have our website up and going in the next couple of weeks
Mhm.
too. So be on the lookout for that.
But really, we'd really like your input. What are your ideas? What do you want to hear about in the community? We want to continue branching out.
Thank you so much for joining us, Craig. And for the rest of you, we'll see you every Thursday with a new episode.
Please join us.